Hi, my name is Alicia and I'm one of the historical interpreters here at Llancaiach Fawr. We thought we would release this video to share with you some of the very exciting discoveries that have recently been uncovered. We were hoping to show you these in person and had an event in the pipeline before lockdown, but unfortunately it wasn't to be, this year anyway. But as many of you know, Llancaiach was built in around 1548, though some parts of the house may be much older. The house has been studied for many years with archaeological evaluations, surveys by buildings experts, so you might think that there was very little left to discover. However, for the last 30 years, hundreds of witch marks have gone largely undiscovered, with only a couple recognised for what they are. After doing some research about the strange burn marks found here around the door frame and above the hearth, they were once dismissed as accidental, well, I discovered that these are actually protective marks commonly used to ward away evil. Fear of witchcraft and the supernatural was very real in the past. Disease and misfortune were often attributed to evil forces such as witches, spirits, and even fairies. Far from being the fluttering, magic little creatures of today's stories and fairy tales, fairies were fearful goblins, widely believed to covet human children and snatch them from their cradles. And of course the devil was an ever-present force, sending his demons to entice and torment unsuspecting souls. It was thought that such ungodly creatures could gain access to your house through any place open to the elements, such as doors, windows, and particularly through chimneys, as these could not be shuttered or locked. The inhabitants of Llancaiach Fawr must have been very frightened of the supernatural, as the house is very heavily protected. There are hundreds of protection or witch marks throughout the building, from the front door all the way into these dark and forbidding attic spaces. Now, it's often very difficult to date these marks, but I think that the earliest might be just here, and it may date all the way back to when the house was built in 1548. It's very large and very well scribed. I've read research that suggests marks like these could have in fact been done by the carpenters who were first erecting the house. Carpenters and tradesmen have always been known, even to this day, as being very superstitious sorts. These conjoined V's, presenting as a W, or when inverted as an M, stand for Virgo Virginium, Virgin of Virgins, and are invoking the protection of the Virgin Mary. There is another mark nearby here. I found two of these, both in attics, something known devilishly as a demon trap. Now, these may be devices thought to be able to capture or trap demons or evil spirits. You have to imagine the very real terror that people would have felt, and the powerlessness as children became sick, crops failed, wars raged, and plague suddenly engulfed their communities. Such events would have seemed unexplainable, and many people saw a supernatural cause lurking in the shadows. It seems likely that many of the marks would have been made to keep out evil at these times. Darkness and nighttime were particularly feared. An early modern proverb goes, "Night belongs to the spirits." Here in the parlour there are also many protective marks, including Marian marks. They're on every door and here above the fireplace. Now here you might be able to see that there are three, a small, a medium and a very large. There was very much an idea that the power of three gave you an even better protection from evil forces. This may stop a witch flying down your chimney. The marks seem to span a few hundred years, successive generations of the families that lived in the house have seen fit to almost top up the protection and add their own marks and hidden their own protective objects. People were quite secretive about making these marks, but the belief in evil forces breaching the walls was prevalent. The marks at Llancaiach cover all parts of the house. This is the highest status room, showing that the wealthy owners of the house, as well as the servants, were contributing to them. Over here in this corner, there appears to be several marks that have been added at different times, probably through different generations of the family. The earliest mark appears to be on this door here. The inner door is very old, probably 1548 when the house was first built. There's a lovely burn mark in the wood. On this newer door, which was put here in, we think, 1628, there is a small Marian mark carved in. There's also another mark. Now this could predate any of the others because it's carved here into the stone itself, very deeply. It's St Andrew's cross or saltire. It was thought that these crosses would bar anything getting through of a supernatural nature. Now this staircase leads down into our cellars. It's incredibly steep. You can see why, with such a dark, forbidding place with a bit draught drawing up the stairs, somebody might have thought it needed protection from evil forces. However, perhaps the most intriguing chamber is this tiny attic space above the porch. When the Williams family lived here, up until the 1980s, they didn't even know it existed. It had been walled up many years before. There are over 130 separate scorch marks on the beams and door frame alone. Some researchers say that these burn marks were a way of fighting hellfire with fire, or that they were almost a way of magically inoculating your house against malignant fires. There was a long-standing belief in the supernatural power of candles and flames. This can be seen in the Christian festival of Candlemas. It commemorates the ritual purification of Mary 40 days after the birth of Jesus. Some people lit candles to scare away evil spirits on the dark winter nights, and in the medieval tradition, holy candles were blessed and a Candlemas prayer reads, "Wherever the candle be lit or set up, the devil may flee away in fear and tremble with all his ministers out of those dwellings, and never presume again to disquiet your servants." Someone has taken a huge amount of effort to protect this attic space. There is a small drawbar used to lock this away from the rest of the house, and even the interior of the socket is scorched. Whoever was sleeping in this space must have been absolutely terrified of something, though puzzlingly they seem to be wanting protection not from the outside, but from something they thought was within the house itself. In the past, any strange happenings within a house, such as unexplained noises, smells, objects being moved, and sightings of apparitions, would most likely have been interpreted as something demonic, caused by witches or demons. Nowadays, we would be more likely to attribute such paranormal happenings to ghosts or spirits of the dead. Perhaps whoever made these marks thought they were bewitched, or being haunted by evil spirits, or even demons. There was a fear that you were particularly vulnerable to such things as you slept. There are hundreds more marks all around the manor house, and many items have also been discovered, put there to keep away evil or even to break a bewitchment. A dead cat was found by the previous owners plastered into one of the walls. Children's shoes, the headboard of a crib for the 17th century, alongside animal parts and even pieces of clothing were found inside the grand staircase. Also, a votive offering was uncovered in a fireplace. It contained a hare's foot, large clumps of human hair, and a twist of paper that most likely would have contained a charm. Every part of the house appears to have some sort of protection from the supernatural. There are many layers of marks and offerings that map out the fears and hopes of countless people who have called Llancaiach their home. We're still discovering new things. Who knows how many more secrets Llancaiach still has to reveal.